let me invite Dr. Josef Šivic, who is the distinguished researcher at the Czech Institute of Informatics, Robotics, and Cybernetics at the Czech Technical Universities. Dr. Šivic actually has helped a lot with the preparation of this event. I should underline that, and we are very grateful to him. Dr. Šivic is also the chairman of the AI Czechia, and he is the director of the Czech unit Prague of the European Lab for Learning and Intelligent Systems Network. So Dr. Šivic is going to enlighten us a little bit on the Czech AI research and its impact against the national strategy. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to be part of this session. So what I would like to do is tell you a little bit more about the Czech AI research, its impact, and also bring in a little bit of the European perspective. So just first tell you a little bit of my background. I'm a researcher. My background is in computer vision, and I'm a researcher in this area. And I came back to Czech Republic after more than 15 years abroad, including wonderful time spent in France. It's great to see many of my colleagues here. In the last few years, I've been also putting energy into grassroots initiatives, both locally, which is called AI Czechia, and also on the European level, the European Laboratory for Learning and Intelligent Systems, ELIS. And I think it's this grassroots perspective which I think I can bring to the discussion at this table. I would like to start with these graphs, which are sort of not so great, where in comparison with the US, the EU, which is shown in blue here, its scientific output as measured by the number of citations in journals and conferences on the left and on the right is actually declining, has been declining over a few years. So, and in addition, if you look at the proportion of international AI PhDs in the US, it's been increasing. And what they actually do, they stay in the US afterwards. 80 or 90% of them, they stay in the US. And if you look at what they actually do, an increasing proportion of them, they end up working in industry, which is very interesting. Now more than 65%, which has increased in the last few years significantly. So we've been thinking how we can make Europe competitive in AI so they can pick up and stay competitive. And we think it's not just about money, but also about mechanisms, how to attract and keep the best scientists and engineers. So here are the 3 points which I will talk about. The first one is about excellence, the best young talent. They would like to work at excellent places, work with the best. And so here I would like to, and some of them will become future leaders themselves. So here I would like to highlight a few highlights of Czech AI research where I think it can contribute to the excellence on the European level. So and of course this is not exhaustive list, these are just in the limited time a few of the highlights. The first one is speech and natural language processing, where I would like to happily mention that the Brno University of Technology has been recently, in fact last year, named as one of the most influential organizations in speech recognition among some of the names which you can see on the slides, which I think is very impressive, and I would like to congratulate them on that. And you will hear more about speech and natural language processing later today in a session. Honza Černocký and Professor Hajj will talk about this area. The second area I would like to mention is computer vision, where Czech is also another traditionally strong area in AI in Czech Republic, where the Czech Technical University has been ranked #2 last year on CS rankings, which measures the number of papers at top selective conferences for different institutions. I think this year we are still in the top 5. And of course, this is only one metric how to measure excellence. There are many others, but I thought I mention it here. Another area which I'd like to highlight, and also there will be an entire session on computer vision tomorrow afternoon. Another area which I would like to highlight is machine reasoning, where 3 out of the top 5 machine reasoning and automatic theorem proving systems are co-developed at the Czech Technical University, as mentioned at the Stanford AI report. And if you want to hear more about this area, in the morning tomorrow in the Mathematics for AI, it will be also mentioned there. And finally, I would like to mention robotics, which also is one of the traditional strengths, where, again, CTU is ranked number 7 according to CS rankings. And I would like to highlight here their excellent performance in the DARPA Subterranean Challenge, where they did very well last year. It's about robots exploring underground spaces. And if you want to hear more about how to do well in this competition, and DARPA challenges are typically very challenging to do well in, come again to the robotics session tomorrow to hear more about this. And finally, the incoming PhD students, they are increasingly asking about the computing infrastructure. And it's been mentioned here on the French side, there is this wonderful Jonze supercomputer, which I have also experience with. But here I would like to thank very much on the Czech side, also highlight that the infrastructure is excellent, provided by IT4 Innovations in Ostrava, and the supercomputer Karolina, where also the Czech AI community has been generously supported by them and sort of running special calls for us, and there's been a number of projects which are supported by this infrastructure. So this was about excellence. The second point I would like to mention is creating ecosystems around leading AI research. And of course, the incoming PhDs, they are not interested only about strong academic places, but they expect entire ecosystem, including startups and in industrial labs, so that they can find jobs later when they finish their PhD. So here I would like to again mention a few highlights of the Czech AI impact. The first one is entire industrial ecosystem around speech and natural language processing, where you can see here on the map, including both spin-offs, startups, but also research labs from sort of large companies. And similar maps can be drawn for other areas like robotics, manufacturing, or computer vision. Yet I would like to more mention the different mechanisms, where one of them is that local businesses or startups, they go global when they secure significant investments. I'll mention some later, and these are few notable examples from the Prague local environment. And another example is where global businesses come to Prague. And here I would like to highlight, for example, Atos and Valeo, which are really global French businesses which came to Prague with investments. And I will also mention this a little bit later. And finally, it's not just about startups, but it's the entire ecosystem, just several different pieces, including the capital investments, education on all levels, including professional education, outreach, networking, and expertise. And here I would like to really praise all the legwork done by the, again, grassroots initiatives like Prague AI, Brno AI, and others around the country, which they do on putting all this together. And you will hear more from Prague AI in the next session, but I believe we have Lukáš Kačena here to talk about that. And just to mention some of these, the highlights, the first one is Rozum AI, which is a document processing platform. So they may be processing your invoices right now. They've last year secured fairly significant investments, and they may be on the way of becoming Czech AI unicorn. And they're founded recently by a few PhD students from local Prague universities. Another example I would like to mention is Phonexia. This is a spin-off from Brno University of Technology, which was founded already in 2006, and they really became one of the leaders, global leaders in speaker and language identifications in the domains of defense, security, and commercial markets. And their speaker identification solution is used globally or has been shipped to more than 60 countries. And again, if you want to more hear about speech, it's today in the afternoon. I would also like to mention Valeo, which is a global player from France who have built an R&D center in Prague with more than 700 people. And some of our graduates end up working there, and also we have research projects with Valeo. And we'll have Patrick Perez from Valeo in France joining the impact session just after this one. He will probably say more about this. And finally, I would like to mention, of course, one of the major areas of AI impact is in health. And here, I would like to mention the recently founded International Neurodegenerative Disorders Research Center, which aims to bring AI tools to treatment and prevention of Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative disorders, which really are a major burden on the society, and they really aim for a global impact in this area. There was a wonderful event last week when they brought leaders in this area to Prague to a conference. And I believe Vít Dočkal will tell you a bit more about this again in the next session. So there were a few highlights about the impact and creating impactful ecosystems around leading AI research. And finally, the third point I would like to mention is this European perspective, how to make the individual ecosystems stronger by connecting them together. And here I'm so very happy to report that the Czech AI is very well connected to European networks and initiatives. There are some of them mentioned here, and in some of them even having a significant or a major role. And in the remaining 1 or 2 minutes, I would like to just highlight a few mechanisms which we've developed in ELIS, supported by the European ELISE project, where we think can help in this idea of bringing the ecosystems together. The first one are ELIS research programs, which are inspired by the very successful CIIRC programs in Canada. Which each of these programs brings together around 20 top scientists in a specific area of machine learning, ranging from theoretical foundations to applications such as in health or climate. And they advance science on this topic and also act as ambassadors of AI to their local and also global communities. The second mechanism is a global or ELIS European PhD program, which acts as a single entry point for PhD students from around the world to work with faculty or researchers in Europe in machine learning driven fields. And I think this is an example where really if we work together, we have a chance to compete with the best places for AI research, which are currently in North America, like Stanford or MIT, because together we will have the sufficient critical mass of top scientists which will be able to compete with these places. And here you can see this is an example of a graph. Each of these PhD students have 2 advisors from different countries or from a local company, and this is a graph of the connections created by this co-advisorship. And finally, I want to mention this sort of connecting these systems together. We've founded several, now 35 units in 14 different countries, which really have a certain critical mass and are able to compete in terms of excellence on the international level. But here I think much more needs to be done to really bring the European hotspots together. And with this, I'm very happy to discuss further in the discussion, and thank you very much for your attention.